Alright, so it has been a little over a week since I last shot a video. It was Adventures at the Londorama, which was, I believe, a week ago Monday. Today it's just after midnight, so I guess we're in the June 26th. Very early Wednesday morning. Um, a little bit of what's been going on with me. Um, Last week took a little mini vacation, went to Toronto with Al for a couple of days. We flew out of Pittsburgh on Friday and flew back in Monday evening. And that was an adventure. Not quite in the way that either he or I had hoped. Um, those of you may or may not know, Al is older. Um, we're decidedly intergenerational. Um, so we made our travel plans well in advance with a travel agent. He actually set it all up. I just kind of went along for the ride because it was, as I like to say, his party. Um, but we definitely wanted to make sure that there were things in place at the airport, like a wheelchair, because he is older. He really can't walk long distances anymore, and his anxiety had been up a little bit before that because of this trip. And yeah, none of that happened. I saw the requests in writing, and we got to the airport. No wheelchair. Get up to the main counter for the airline. No wheelchair. They said there was no record of a wheelchair request. But they tell us to wait a few minutes, they get us a chair, and we make a special point when we get to the other airport. Please make sure that there's a chair. He's older, he can't walk that far. Oh, yes, that'll be fine. No problem. Great. Awesome. Go on the Toronto. Get off the plane. No wheelchair. No order for a wheelchair. Mind you, at Toronto, it's not like a normal airport where you get off the plane and you walk through this lovely little tunnel thing that gets you into a nice warm terminal. No, they have you go down 4 steps down onto a tarmac. Outdoors. No wheelchair. So they call and order him a wheelchair. We've got to stand there and wait because there's not even a chair for him to sit in. They bring the chair, which I found out later, they're not supposed to leave. They literally dump a chair with us, leave me to load all of our luggage, load him, and leave. And someone from the airline just literally says, go that way. Or, yeah, go that way. Great. Where am I going? Follow the arrows. Super. Thanks a lot. We walk into the building, and it's a freaking maze. The arrows are a joke. I am wandering around this airport wheeling Al, who's getting increasingly anxious about this because we don't know where the hell we're going, for a good 20 minutes at least. I mean, my pedometer said I walked 3/4 of a mile while I'm pushing Al in a wheelchair and schlepping luggage. Every person I ask for help, whether it be airline or airport, nothing. Finally, after like the third floor change, because I mean, we're taking escalators and elevators and all that stuff just to follow the arrows that everyone keeps directing us to follow. We finally got someone from the airline who didn't even work in the type of work that we really should have had someone working with help us. Got us through customs, got us on the train, got us to the hotel. That was great. Fine. We got off our plane at a little after 7. We got to the hotel at 9:45. Keeping in mind that it's only a 30-minute train ride from the airport to our hotel because we were literally across the street from the Union Station. And if you're familiar with Toronto, there's the UP, which goes directly from Toronto Airport, Pearson, to Union Station and runs every 25 minutes, pretty much from 5 a.m. until midnight. And it took us almost 3 hours. That ought to give you an idea of how much trouble we had getting out of the airport when we only had carry-on luggage. Fine. So then we get our very, very late dinner. Good meal, actually. We ended up staying at the Royal Fairmont Hotel in Toronto. If you can afford it, honestly, I highly recommend it. Excellent service across the board in the hotel. A lot of very nice restaurants on the property, and there's actually pretty much a mini shopping mall beneath it. It's kind of cool. Little pricey, but kind of cool. Al had taken a Xanax earlier in the day. Actually, I'm not even going to get into that right now. This is just my airport rant. I think I'm going to make this decision made command. Yay. Saturday was a bit of a wash for reasons I may get into in a PSA video. I'll make it another time. I don't really feel like making it right now and getting into it. Other than we went and saw the Book of Mormon, great show. I had actually seen it previously, and Sunday was pretty good. We went to see a second show. Neither of us were overly fond of it, so we ended up leaving at intermission. And Toronto had Pride Weekend, which we were not aware of when we planned the trip, but we weren't too far from where Pride was, so we took a cab over to where part of the Pride Parade was, walked around Pride area, and had a pretty good time of it. I took some pictures, uploaded it on my personal Facebook. I may throw some on the Sly Fox Den Facebook page if anyone's particularly interested in it. I'm trying to keep my YouTube social media life separate from my personal social media, just because I know some people who've had stalker issues, and I'm not particularly interested in going down that road. So we're walking around Pride, and we actually ended up walking into a bookstore, and I got a little alert on my phone to confirm our flight for Monday to go back from Toronto to Pittsburgh so that we could drive home. Awesome. I love confirming things early. I'm a gadget geek. I confirm our flight. I have a seat. Al doesn't. We made reservations in April. This is a problem. I called Air Canada, because that's the airline that we had the misfortune of flying with. That is not why I'm wearing red. I'm just wearing red because it was the first shirt I found, and since one of my fun things is I'm going to try and do a hat in each video, because I have a fairly extensive hat collection. Red hat, red shirt, kind of match fun. Yeah. So, Al doesn't have a seat. I call the airline. I'm on hold for 30 minutes, and they hung up on me. Al's pretty upset by this point. We get back to the hotel. I call the airline again, hold for 30 minutes, get through, and they're like, oh, well, your reservation's together. Either both of you are going to have a seat or neither of you are going to have a seat. And since you have a seat, he should have a seat too. But we're not going to know where we put him until you actually get to the airport about an hour before your flight. Great. Okay. While we're on the phone here, He was supposed to have a wheelchair. Did he get a wheelchair? Oh no, there's no order for that. Can you put one in? Yes. And I'll even show you on the website where to go. So I did that. I went on the website, saw the request for a wheelchair there for special accommodation because he's older and disabled. Awesome. Go to sleep, get up the next morning, check out of the hotel, and there were issues there too, but I'm turning this into an Air Canada sucks video apparently. We get to the hotel, or get to the airport, and no wheelchair. I stop someone at the airport and go, he's older. Can we get a wheelchair? Oh no, I can't call a wheelchair for you. You're going to have to go over to that desk over there and call for a wheel, and they'll call you for a wheelchair. Great, thanks. Go over to that desk. Oh no, we can't call for a wheelchair for you. You've got to go to that special phone over there. Okay. So I go over to that phone and call for a chair. And they said it'd be a little while. Fine. We were stupidly early for our flight just because the checkout was at noon and our flight wasn't until 5. And we really didn't have anything going on. So we figured out, what the hell, we'll go to the airport early. And a few minutes later, chair shows up. Turns out it wasn't the chair that we ordered. It was actually an IT guy wheeling a wheelchair through the airport who just handed it off to Al. Which was, okay, Al needed to use the restroom and they gave me directions. Fine. I asked for help a number of times along the way. No help. I couldn't even get directed to where our airline was properly. I did not see anyone from Air Canada until after we had cleared customs. And by the way, customs is a freaking joke. I'm wheeling Al through customs, and it's an automated machine in Canada at Pearson Airport. I scan his passport, and he's sitting in the chair in front of me, and it goes to take his picture. And instead of getting his picture, because I was trying to get him to the camera to take it, it automatically took a picture of me while I've got a hat on, and I've got a hand over my face like this, because I'm trying to get Al into the camera view. That's Al's current customs picture. When it printed, I realized that's not good. My customs picture came out perfectly. I go to the person kind of manning that part of customs, and they're like, oh, it's fine. Wouldn't retake his picture, wouldn't take a picture of him. I get directed to cut through the huge line of people in line to get stamped at customs, because even though I'm not supposed to be handling the chair, I found out later, I've got a person in a wheelchair. Turns out someone from the airline's supposed to be with us for all of that, or the airport. None of that happened. And I go through and I tell the guy, look, this is not him. This is me in this picture. I looked like, in the picture, your stereotypical terrorist. Mind you, 99 times out of 100, I am one of the least violent people you will ever meet in your life. Although by this point in this trip to the airport, I was getting pretty pissed off. They just don't even bother looking at it, stamp it, and go through. So, hey, congratulations, security into the US sucks, if you're wondering. I wish that were the end of my nightmare. Finally, get through and actually see someone from the airline. We go through, and I tell them, need a little bit of help. Don't even know where I'm going. I've gotten through customs on my own. Not really sure where I'm supposed to go from here. They finally call someone to help me get where we need to go and actually take Al in the chair, which is what they were supposed to do when we entered the airport. At this point, probably an hour before. So, we get to where we're going, and the girl promptly disappears. I begin asking people with the airline, any chance we can find out when we're going to seat him? And they're like, oh no, your flight doesn't take off till 5 p.m. We won't be able to do that until at 4, so wait until 4. Fine. Great. 4 o'clock rolls around. Nobody there. 4:30 rolls around. Nobody there. 4:45-ish rolls around. I find out that there are several other people in our situation. The airline conveniently chose not to seat them anywhere on the plane, even though they checked in advance. But the flight wasn't oversold. What the hell? Whatever. We go up to the girl at the counter, and she's like, oh, I can't seat you. That's not my job. You're at the counter. You're the only one with a computer. And you're wearing identification that says you work with the airline. What exactly is your job? Whatever. So we wait the 20 minutes that she tells us to wait. By this point, it's after 5. Mind you, our original flight was supposed to take off at 5, but it had gotten delayed twice. For reasons unknown, because the weather in Toronto was fan-freaking-tastic all day. Not sarcastic, it was actually really nice weather. Crappy day to be caught inside an airport. And they finally get Al and I seated. I should mention that my seat disappeared and reappeared somewhere during all of this process, too, so I didn't even know if I was getting on the plane. Ask again. Will Al have a wheelchair when we get off at Pittsburgh? Oh, yes, it's in there. It'll be fine. We get on the plane. It's a good 40 minutes late taking off. We get into Pittsburgh. A frickin' monsoon practically hit, because we had severe weather in Ohio and Pittsburgh. No wheelchair. At which point I walk up, and they're like, oh yeah, there's no chair. And I look at the guy and go, are you freaking kidding me? And he's like, no, I am not freaking kidding you. This is the airline guy. And I just went, unbe-freaking-leavable, because we have now done a round trip, 2 airports each trip, wheelchair orders in writing every step of the way, not a wheelchair once. I'm a little bit done at this point. I found out later what Al paid for that flight, for how he was treated, and it's appalling. This is the same airline that accidentally locked somebody in their plane earlier in the week, I found out, as I'm waiting in the airport to get on their plane. We had other stuff going on as well, but this is a lot of why I haven't really posted. Because I was out of the country for a few days, between the airline fiascos and some other stuff that happened on the trip. Our 3-day trip was more like one good day. I mean, I don't regret going. I wish we would have driven, because honestly, after all the time we spent dicking around the airports, we could have driven, and it probably would have been a lot cheaper and a lot less headache. But the one thing I learned out of all of this is Air Canada freaking sucks. I'm still waiting for a response from them. I called our travel agent. She heard what was going on, and she was appalled. She literally said that they should never have even let me touch the airport property, which was the wheelchair. That doesn't go into the fact that they almost knocked Al over in customs, making him remove his shoes, even though, in theory, they say you're not supposed to remove your shoes if you're over the age of 75. And again, I'm outing myself a little bit here. Al's 88. He's a very healthy 88. But he's 80 freaking 8 years old. I don't get why an airline thinks it's okay to vaporize special wheelchair accommodation requests for an elderly person who I found out paid over $500 per seat for this trip. Several months in advance. Why would you allow one person to have a seat and not the other? Why not make sure that there are seats for both? Not to mention the fact that I had actually paid extra on the flight in for a bit more footroom, because I'm a tall person, so legroom is a good thing. The overage that I paid for that extra legroom, I actually had more legroom on the flight back in the seat that supposedly didn't have the upgrade. I don't get it. Why do people think that it's okay to separate people on a flight when the reservation is together, when you've got access to their records and the person you're not letting board is elderly? What the hell makes you think that it's okay not to have a wheelchair available for an 88-year-old man who can't walk long distances, when you know that it's 3/4 of a mile minimum from the plane to where you need to get your baggage or exit the airport? I personally saw the stuff in writing. The travel agency has printed papers of the stuff in writing where these requests were made back in April. How dare these people think that that is in any way, shape, or form okay? I mean, yes, there are bigger problems going on in the world. This is definitely a first world problem. I'm okay with that. I get it. I'm try to be fairly politically aware, although I'm trying to keep that off this channel. But seriously, how the hell do you run a business like that? And when I went on their Facebook, they were bragging about being the best rated airline in North America. It was consistently the absolute worst airline experience I had ever had. And I'm going on 25 minutes of this rant and I'm getting PO'd again, so I think I'm going to cut it here. Just know that I am still working on content for this channel. I do have some other things in mind, as I've said. I was actually looking forward to doing a video on the Toronto trip. I wasn't anticipating the various nightmares and issues that we had. I have some things in mind for that. I think I can get a couple more videos worth of information out of the Toronto trip. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I ordered a new phone because my phone began acting up a little bit worse than usual on that trip. The new phone's got a better camera on it too, so I'm kind of looking forward to playing with that and maybe seeing if I can do some interesting video things with it. I'm still wanting to learn a little bit more about YouTube and video editing, because I really want to get this home office space that I'm in right now finished and kind of show it off. I've got some before pictures of what it looked like before I began working in here, and it's come a really long way. Um, there are some TMI challenges that I've been tagged in from other subscribers on the channel, and I promise I am going to do those. I find them a lot of fun. I do them on social media anyways. I may take some of the ones that I've answered in the past on social media and do some of my own, just kind of pepper them throughout. Um, I may want to do a review on some musicals that I've seen in the past, like Broadway stuff, maybe my interpretation of Wicked or Book of Mormon, which we did see while we were in Toronto. Um, and just kind of go from there. Maybe talk a little bit about the city. I don't know. I've got stuff rattling around up here. It's just going to be a matter of getting it executed. And I think that's it for now.